Welcome to season 2 of My 3 Questions. This is the show where I reach out to professionals working in the experience arena. That might be customer experience, user experience, or even some others. They might be suppliers, consultants, customers, users of these technologies. I round them up here and I ask them 3 simple questions. Honestly, just because I want to hear their responses. On today's show, I have Ajay Kapoor, CEO of the Denver-based TouchSource. Welcome to the show, Ajay.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. It's great to be here.
So first off, a warm-up question. So this is not part of the 3 here. Did you guys make the digital screens that we saw in the Minority Report?
I wish we did. No, that's on the roadmap, but another Colorado company did. A little more down the road from us.
Wasn't aware of that. So then go ahead. TouchSource is not something I've been made aware of, except for recently when we connected about a subject there. Tell us what TouchSource does and what it is.
Yeah, so TouchSource is a company focused on in-building digital experiences. We start with digital directories and wayfinding and helping people connect into space. But then we've really been focusing in on enabling building owners and operators to best engage with both the tenants and visitors in their building, in the built environment, in their physical space.
So my first question, I often, because I work a lot, as you know for sure here, that I work in the customer experience space. So I'm going to change this to the tenant experience, maybe, as you just mentioned that there. Mm-hmm. What kind of trends do you see happening? What are you watching in that space of tenant or user experiences going on around right now?
So what's really interesting is, you and I have a background in both the traditional communication and the online communication space. And you know a lot about users because they're bringing in digital footprints in an online world. In a physical world, you know very little about them, surprisingly. And so one of the biggest trends is being able to try to calibrate the various data points you're learning about a person in their journey. If they're a tenant, you can leverage things like their badge and things like that to identify them prior to presenting information. If they're a visitor, you know very little about them. So things like visual sensing and being able to grab demographic information, or leveraging Bluetooth and Wi-Fi sensors to get sort of more anonymous beacons of where people flow, is allowing us to more customize and cater a user experience, as people have that expectation of Amazon or whatever knows exactly who you are in your entire purchase history. But when you walk into a store or walk into a building, we know nothing about you. So I think the really interesting trend is how the online world is now starting to affect the in-person world and the expectations of users coming from that.
So you mentioned, so is there a tenant journey conversation that happens as well in your world?
Oh, absolutely. So tenants, whether they come in via public transportation or a parking garage, have a similar experience as others that are doing those types of things. A person driving, at the end of the day, it's important for us to present traffic information. Or if they're using transit, we provide real-time transit information. We're providing information, simple things like weather and news, but also what's going on in the building. Are there going to be outages? Are there public events happening? Things to basically guide their journey. And as they move from the garage to the lobby to their floor, their conference room experience, making sure things are available for them. So there is a tenant journey and there's a visitor journey to those tenants as well. That includes security, visual authentication of that person before they enter the building. These paths are actually really interesting in the built environment because you can't control them like you can in a digital environment.
Oh, it's interesting. I know I live in a tunnel of customer journeys and customer experiences here. And it's always fun to hear another. Of course, I'm a visitor and I'm a tenant in your concepts as well. And I could probably recognize when things are more seamless, is what the word I would use, or stitched together as sort of an experience. But I would never have come up with the concept of a tenant journey. So that's something completely new. Mm-hmm. My second question is. You're also a supplier of technologies and solutions there. What one question do you wish that your customers or the suppliers should be asking more often when they're interacting with each other?
There's probably a lot of questions, to tell you the truth. But
Doesn't surprise me from you.
You know, I was initially thinking about, customers and suppliers asking the question, how can we make the experience better? But I think people triangulate around that question. One of the most successful conversations I had with both a partner and a customer, we work in a variety of different ways with this company, is they asked us, what are we doing wrong in terms of customer experience and tenant experience and journey and things like that? And beginning a question like that opens up, changes the paradigm. You can have an honest and candid conversation because they're starting with the presumption of they're really looking for honest dialogue and feedback. So in the last couple of weeks since I heard that question, I've now been asking my partners and vendors and suppliers that question phrased that way. And the level of honesty changes dramatically. So rather than asking, how are we doing and how can we improve?
Yeah.
But specifically, what am I doing wrong? Completely changes the balance of power and everything like that in the question.
That's interesting. I guess you also probably put them back on their heels for a moment because they're not expecting to come in from that angle here.
Yeah. They're also worried it's like one of those questions like, did this outfit make me look fat? There's not a good answer for that.
Oh yeah, it's like, what are we doing wrong here? All right.
Yeah.
my third question is an easy one, just because I'm interested and always curious. AJ, if you had more time, what would you do with it?
In the professional environment, one of the things is really stop and observe and listen a lot more than what we're doing. And that goes with customers, that goes with internal people. My agenda yesterday was fully booked from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And I didn't get a chance to sort of pause. And, having an opportunity to just sit either in a client experience or sit with my team members and not say anything and listen and observe, I think would really help me, professionally. Honestly, I think that applies to the personal environment as well. Just actively listening, waiting, pausing, and giving time for observation rather than action. We allow a lot of time for action. We allow very little time for observation. And I think that's how I would spend my time, not acting on the world, but more observing and learning. Mm-hmm.
Listening to you say that, I've done, I think, about 30 of these 3-question interviews over the last 2 years. And most of them I've always done in person. So I'm with the person, 3 feet away. We're at an event or at a meeting or something like that. So it's an intimate scenario. And I've recently, this is actually the second or third video interview I've done. I just felt, well, it was obvious I needed to expand my geographic reach to people I can get.
And I'm not going to be in Germany anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. And as much as I'd like to come to Denver, it might be a while. Still relevant people to reach out to. But each time I do these, my questions are the same. My preparation is not overly, time consuming there. But I pose these questions, and all I do is listen. Mm-hmm. And as the whole setup, the whole premise of the interview series is I just want to hear the answer. So I get to listen for a moment and not have to share my insights and things like that. And when you were just saying that, it made me think about that. It's like, that's maybe what I've done is I set up my little bit of moment of listening that I can put in for 15 minutes here. I appreciate your questions and my questions, your answers and the insights here, being another one of my season 2 episode interviewees. And I really appreciate you being here today. Let me interview you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Andrew. It was great to talk. This was a lot of fun.
All right.